Welcome to Manawaker Studios Flash Fiction Podcast. I'm CB Drogi. A quick note before we begin. This episode marks the end of our first season. Flash Fiction Podcast will return in the new year after a short holiday break. This week, Trial by Michael Chin. We all heard from Dennis Dean's attorney before the prosecution got to us. Bobby Mason. He could have passed for a heel manager any day, with his fast talk, his double talk, the way in which, even when he asked if we'd be willing to testify, he simultaneously planted seeds of what we might say about Dennis Dean as a creative visionary, and that he tried to get the Mummy and Pink Man to end the match before the fire got out of control at ringside, that we'd seen him test the fire extinguishers, and that there had been a dozen of them. And it was, after all, the failure of arena management, the fire extinguisher manufacturer, and sheer bad luck that we did not succeed in putting out what was a small fire, and only after the fire became a conflagration. Most of us told him to go fuck himself. 2 of our brothers dead, plus 17 people who had paid good money to see us, to support our art, and not one of us thought a burned alive match was a good idea. But a couple of the boys did side with him. George Steeples, a kiss-ass who always spent as much time politicking with Dean as he did talking with the boys, who saw an opportunity to prove his loyalty and shore up a world title reign while the rest of us got blackballed if Dean did come out of this thing unscathed. And then Pink Man himself, a participant in the match, a real swerve to all of us who knew how much he hated Dean even before the fire. Knew he wanted to fight under a man's name, not a neon pink hood and spandex. Not as a minor superhero non sequitur, decades after the gimmick might have worked. We had to assume Dean had offered him some damn good money to testify for him, to give him the push of a lifetime. All imaginary, all at odds with what the rest of us boys would say on the stand. Cowboy confronted Pink Man in the lobby, the both of them in ill-fitting suits. Pink Man's sleeves and trouser legs too short, Cowboy's blazer too small to button over his stomach. Cowboy leaned in close, so I could only hear bits and pieces about perjury and backstabber. Pink Man turned pink, then red in the face after Cowboy punctuated his comments with a punch in the nuts as he walked away. I thought the low blow was a gamble, just outside the court of law, with guards and judges and attorneys, but no one said anything about it. And though Pink Man didn't redact his story, it didn't matter. The People versus Dennis Dean, with Bobby Mason in his corner, was a squash match. He pleaded out the criminal charge, reckless endangerment, 5 years with the possibility of parole. He'd have the civil trial to contend with afterward. The possibility of losing the territory, the brand name, the rings, the tape library. Dean caught my arm on his way out. "Why are you all doing this to me? Why me?" I didn't know what to say back, but Cowboy put a hand on my shoulder, brimstone in his voice, fire in his eyes. "Go to hell." This has been Trial, written by Michael Chin. The Flash Fiction Podcast theme song is by Kevin MacLeod. I'm CB Drogi. Thanks for listening. Episode 0148, copyright 2016, CB Drogi and Manawaker Studio.